You guys will never believe what happened. I'm Chloe, living in this charming, historic home in the lakeside town of Cresthaven, chasing my dream of becoming a painter who captures the fleeting beauty of moments on canvas. Today, I was just coming back from the grocery store, arms full of bags, when Julian, my neighbor and a retired music teacher, offered to help carry them. He's got this warm, magnetic vibe, think silver hair with a slight wave, hazel eyes that seem to hum with old melodies, and a voice that could lull you like a soft piano tune. What started as a simple act of kindness turned into a driveway conversation that lasted way longer than expected. And let's just say it opened a door I didn't know I wanted to walk through. Want to know how it went down? Keep watching, because this story is all about one evening that carries more weight than those grocery bags ever could. Like and subscribe for more. Chloe had planned a quiet evening after her trip to the grocery store, intending to retreat to her attic studio in Cresthaven's historic family home, where she'd lose herself in her latest canvas, a vibrant swirl of lake-inspired greens and silvers that shimmered like the town's namesake waters. The home, with its creaking oak floors, ivy-draped windows, and the faint scent of aged wood, was her sanctuary, nestled in a leafy suburban neighborhood where the lake's gentle lapping fueled her restless creativity. Her paintings were bold, their strokes mirroring the dangerous desires that simmered beneath her calm exterior, always seeking a spark to bring them to life. But today, those desires stirred unexpectedly in the driveway, sparked by a simple act of kindness from Julian, her neighbor, whose quiet warmth had become a melody she couldn't stop humming. At 65, Julian was a retired music teacher whose gentle charm had intrigued her since she moved back to Cresthaven a year ago after art school. His silver hair carried a slight wave. His hazel eyes held the depth of decades spent coaxing music from students, and his hands, steady from years of playing piano, moved with a quiet, deliberate grace that felt like a soft chord. His afternoon, Chloe, in passing, paired with a warm but reserved smile, had always felt neighborly but distant, like a song heard from a window. She'd told herself it was just appreciation for a neighbor who'd once played a Chopin prelude for her on his porch, who'd shared stories of his teaching days over lemonade. But her dangerous desires, always lurking, ignited a curiosity she couldn't quiet. And today, that curiosity flared into something undeniable when he offered to carry her groceries. The evening was cool, Cresthaven alive with the rustle of leaves and the distant hum of the lake. The air thick with the scent of fresh produce from Chloe's grocery bags and the faint earthiness of autumn. She'd been struggling with heavy bags, apples, canned goods, a bottle of wine, when Julian appeared from his garden next door, pruning shears in hand, his flannel shirt rolled up at the sleeves. "Need a hand, Chloe?" he'd asked, his voice a warm, melodic hum, his hazel eyes catching hers in the fading daylight. She'd nodded, a smile tugging at her lips, and handed him a bag, their fingers brushing briefly, the contact sparking a warmth that lingered as they walked up her driveway. They stopped by her front steps, the gravel crunching underfoot, the lake shimmer visible through the trees, reflecting the last rays of sunset. The driveway was a quiet stage, framed by the historic home's ivy-covered facade and Julian's neatly trimmed hedges, the air carrying the scent of apples, lake water, and a trace of Julian's cologne cedar, crisp and grounding like a well-tuned piano. A distant wind chime from his porch sang softly, its notes weaving through the evening like a gentle melody, setting the rhythm for their unexpected conversation. Chloe set her bags down, leaning against the porch railing, while Julian placed his beside hers, his smile warm but curious, as if sensing the moment held more than a neighborly exchange. Their talk started light, her grocery haul, his garden's latest roses, but the air felt charged, like a canvas, waiting for its first stroke. Chloe's mind drifted to flashes of their past interactions, each a note in the melody of their connection. She recalled the first time they'd met, when Julian had welcomed her back to Cresthaven with a wave from his porch, his piano playing drifting through his open window, pulling her in like a siren's call. Another memory surfaced a summer afternoon when he'd invited her for lemonade, sharing a story about a student who'd mastered Beethoven, his voice warm as he laughed at her teasing about his old vinyl collection. Then there was the quiet moment when he'd stopped by to borrow a book on art, his hand brushing hers as he took it, his eyes lingering as he said, "Your paintings have music in them, Chloe." A more recent evening flickered when she'd lingered at his gate, returning a borrowed record, his gaze holding hers as he said, "You make the ordinary feel extraordinary." Each memory carried a spark she'd tried to dismiss, blaming his reserve on neighborly distance. But now, in the driveway, the air hummed with possibility like a song waiting to be played. The conversation deepened, the wind chimes notes a soft undercurrent as the sunset faded to twilight. The lake's shimmer now a silver glow. Chloe opened up more than she'd planned, the intimacy of the driveway loosening her guard. She spoke of her painting, how it felt like capturing a moment's heartbeat. "It's like I'm trying to hold on to something fleeting," she said, her voice soft but fervent, her fingers brushing the edge of a grocery bag, the canvas rough against her skin. "I want my art to make people feel alive, like the lake does at dusk." Does that sound too much? Her hazel eyes met his, searching for a glimpse of the man behind the warm smiles, her dangerous desires stirring under his steady gaze, urging her to push beyond the ordinary. Julia nodded, leaning against the porch railing beside her, his hands close enough that she could feel their warmth, a quiet strength like a steady rhythm. "Not too much," he said, his voice low, melodic like a teacher coaxing a perfect note from a student. "Your paintings have that spark, Chloe. I saw it in that green and silver piece you showed me live, like a melody you can't forget. It's captivating." His words were measured, but a new weight lingered in them, a hesitation that made her pulse quicken, her curiosity flaring like a chord struck just right. She tilted her head, the gravel crunching softly as she shifted closer, the scent of apples mingling with the cedar of his cologne and the cool lake air. "Captivating?" she teased, her voice playful but edged with daring, her hazel eyes locking on his, their hazel depths reflecting the twilight's glow like a polished instrument. "That's a big word for the neighbor who just paints in her attic. You sure you're not just being kind?" Her dangerous desires pushed her to test the boundaries, the driveways shrinking to just the two of them, the wind chimes melody a soft heartbeat weaving through the evening. He chuckled, setting the grocery bag he still held onto the steps, his eyes holding hers a moment longer than usual, a flicker of something unguarded in his gaze. "I'm not that kind," he said, his voice warm but tinged with a quiet intensity, like a musician playing a note with unexpected depth. "You're not just the neighbor, Chloe. You've got this fire in your art, in the way you move through the world. It's hard to look away." The wind chime sang softly, its notes curling around them like a gentle refrain, the air heavy with the scent of cedar and the weight of their moment, the lake's silver light, a quiet backdrop. Chloe's mind raced, weaving through more memories that deepened their connection. She remembered a rainy afternoon when Julian had invited her into his home to escape a sudden downpour, playing Chopin Prelude on his piano, his fingers dancing over the keys as she watched, mesmerized. Another moment flickered, fall evening when he'd helped her carry a canvas to her porch, his hand brushing hers, his smile warm as he said, "Your work stays with me, Chloe." There was the time he'd lingered at her gate, discussing a local art show, his voice soft as he said, "You see beauty where others don't." And a quiet moment last week when he'd paused by her mailbox, his eyes catching hers as he said, "You make Cresthaven feel alive." Each memory was a note tightening the melody between them, pulling her closer to the edge of something bold, her heart pounding with the possibility that his reserve was hiding a deeper rhythm. The conversation stretched on, the wind chimes notes a soft undercurrent as the twilight deepened. The lakes hum a quiet pulse in the background. Chloe shared more than she'd intended, her dangerous desires loosening her tongue. She spoke of her fears that her paintings might go unnoticed, her dream to create art that lingered like a song in someone's heart. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm chasing something impossible," she admitted, her voice softer now, her fingers brushing the porch railing, its wood cool under her touch. "But when I paint, it's like I'm alive in a way I can't explain. Do you ever feel that way about music?" Her eyes searched his, her heart seeking not just connection, but a glimpse of the man beneath the teacher. The lake's hum echoing her pulse. Julian leaned closer, his elbow brushing hers on the railing, the contact sending a spark through her, like a note hitting the perfect pitch. "Every time I hear a piece that moves me," he said, his voice low, resonant, like a musician sharing a private melody. "Your paintings do that, Chloe. That green and silver canvas, it's like a song I can't stop hearing. That kind of fire, it is rare." His words carried a new intensity, a crack in his reserve facade, and the air between them shifted, the twilight amplifying the moment, her plan gaining momentum like a melody finding its crescendo. She tilted her head, her smile teasing but deliberate, the lake's silver glow catching the curve of her cheek. "Rare?" she asked, her voice playful but pointed, her hazel eyes glinting with mischief. "That's high praise from the guy who's taught music to half of Cresthaven. You sure you're not just humoring the artist next door?" Her dangerous desires pushed her forward, the driveway narrowing to just their shared space, the wind chimes' melody a soft pulse, the lake's light a quiet witness. He laughed, a warm, low sound, his hand shifting closer on the railing, his eyes holding hers with a new depth, like he was hearing a song he'd long avoided. "I don't humor anyone," he said, his voice warm but edged with something raw, something real. "You're not just the artist next door, Chloe. You've got this presence, this spark that makes people stop and listen. I've been trying to keep things neighborly, but you're making that difficult." The lake's hum mingled with the wind chimes' notes, the air thick with the scent of cedar and the weight of their moment, the twilight wrapping them in its glow. "Hey guys," Chloe said, her voice bright but laced with mischief, as if speaking to her imaginary audience, her eyes glinting as she leaned back, breaking the tension for a moment. "We're about to get into this spicy portion of the story, so please don't forget to like and subscribe." She grinned, the words a playful nod to her daring, but her heart pounded as she shifted, leaning closer to Julian, her shoulder brushing his on the railing, the contact sending a spark through her, like paint hitting a blank canvas. Julian's breath hitched, his eyes catching the movement, his voice trailing off as he stared, the air between them warming, electric. Chloe didn't pull back, her gaze steady, bold, holding his with a quiet challenge that felt like a brushstroke defining a new shape. "You've been keeping things neighborly for a long time," she said softly, her voice charged with truth, her hazel eyes unwavering. "But I'm not imagining this, am I? This isn't just about groceries anymore." The moment held, the silence electric. The wind chimes notes a distant hum as the driveway narrowed to just them, the gravel, the grocery bags, the lake's silver glow casting shadows like a stage's spotlight. Her heartbeat quickened, her breath steady but charged, her dangerous desires carrying her forward like a bold stroke across a canvas. She'd accepted his help with the bags, but now, standing close, her plan was unfolding. The air, alive with possibility, the wind chimes' melody a rhythm to their unspoken dance. Julian's gaze softened, a slow smile tugging at his lips, his voice low, strained but warm, like a note held just right. "No, Chloe," he said, his eyes flickering to her hand near his before returning to hers, a spark of something unguarded breaking through his reserved demeanor. "It's not just about groceries. You've got this way of drawing people in, making them hear the music in you. I've been trying to keep things simple to stay the neighbor, but you're making that impossible." Her smile widened, her heart soaring, the tension, a living thing between them, pulsing like the lake's shimmer. Maybe I like making it impossible, she said, her voice teasing but honest, leaning closer, her shoulder brushing his, the contact electric, sending a shiver through her like paint spilling across a canvas. Maybe I don't want you to stay just the neighbor anymore. Her eyes locked on his, the wind chimes notes swelling like a cue, her plan unfolding in the charged silence. He laughed, a low, warm sound, his hand resting on the railing, fingers brushing hers, the touch sparking a fire in her chest that felt like a painting coming to life. "Your trouble, Chloe," he said, his voice rich with amusement and intensity, his hazel eyes twinkling with a warmth she hadn't seen before, like a musician discovering a new melody. "I've been trying to keep my distance, to keep things neighborly, but you stand here with that fire in your eyes, in your art, and I'm supposed to stay composed? You're rewriting every note I've got." Her breath caught, the driveways shrinking further, the twilight framing them like a final act on a stage. Her brother's warning echoed faintly. "He's just being polite, Chloe. Don't read into it," but her brother was wrong. This was real, raw, and electric, a moment painted in bold strokes. "Maybe I like rewriting notes," she said, her hand pressing lightly against his, the touch grounding her like a canvas under a brush. "What do you want, Julian? Now that we're here, in this driveway?" He leaned back, his smile slow, deliberate, his eyes tracing her face like he was hearing a song for the first time. "I want to see where this melody goes," he said, his voice soft but weighted, like a musician unveiling a hidden composition. "You're bold, Chloe, bolder than I was ready for. You stand here with that spark in your paintings, in your words, and you're turning my world upside down. I'm not sure I want to stop you." The air was thick with possibility, the wind chimes notes fading to a soft pulse. The driveway alive with their shared moment, the lake's hem a quiet rhythm in the background. Chloe's dangerous desires pushed her forward, her heart racing with the thrill of her plan coming to life, the intimacy of the driveway amplifying every glance, every word. "You're making it really hard to keep this neighborly," she teased, her voice a mix of playfulness and truth. Her hazel eyes locked on his, her courage holding her steady like a brush in her hand. He chuckled, his fingers curling slightly around hers, the touch warm and electric, like a spark in a quiet music room. "Neighborly's overrated," he said, his voice low, rich, carrying the weight of their moment, the twilight casting a silver glow across his face. "What do you want, Chloe? Now that the groceries are down and it's just us in this driveway?" Her heart pounded, the memory of his words echoing, the spark of his touch still warm on her skin. What did she want? The solitude of her studio, the routine she'd expected? Or this hymn, the thrill, the fire he ignited in her heart, as vivid as her paintings? "I want to keep this," she said, her voice steady now, her eyes locked on his, her hand pressing against his, the contact grounding her like a finished painting ready to be hung. "This feeling, this moment, you..." His smile widened, his eyes twinkling with warmth and intensity, like a musician hearing a melody come to life. "That's a bold choice," he said, his voice soft but charged. The wind chimes' final notes fading into silence, leaving only the faint hum of the lake and the rustle of leaves. "But I've always been a fan of bold." The driveway was still, the twilight a silver glow, reflecting their moment like a perfectly framed painting. Julian's hand lingered near hers, the air alive with possibility, the grocery bags forgotten like props left on a stage. The lake outside shimmered, its silver light a quiet witness to their connection. "Good night, Chloe," he said, his voice soft but heavy with meaning, his eyes holding hers as he stepped back, offering her a way out, but leaving the door wide open, the twilight casting long shadows behind him. "Good night, Julian," she said, her voice a mix of teasing and truth, her heart pounding as she turned toward the house, the spark between them brighter than the lake's glow. She climbed the porch steps, Cresthaven's rhythm soothing, the lake's hum, a soft applause in the night. As she leaned against her door, her heart ablaze with the thrill of what might come next. She knew her dangerous desires had grown heavy in the driveway, leaving only a daring new chapter, one fearless stroke at a time.